to another workshop video. In the last one we started painting the slam panel on the TVR. That's now done. We've let that cure for about a week, so it's time to start polishing. So the next job is to get rid of all this masking film and masking tape and get it polished up. So we'll do that next, and then we can refit the intercooler pipework. Let's get on with it. That's the masking tape. I used a bit of heat actually with a heat gun just to get it off the wing here, because I was terrified it was going to rip the edge of that paint off the wing, but it seems to have got away with it. This wing has been previously sprayed by me before, so I want to basically keep that. Don't want to do anything to it just other than polish that back up. This one, if you watched any of the previous videos, I damaged. You can see the damage there with some thinners, so that's got to be resprayed, so not worried about that one because that's going to be sprayed again. So the next stage is to polish this up. Now there's a couple of ways we could do this. You can see really, if you zoom in really closely, I don't know if you're better going to see that in I zoom, you can just see there as I run the camera over with the strip light above, you can see there's quite a few bits in it. Not sure where that's come from really. I don't think it's come off the floor, although the floor of the garage is terrible, but not the greatest finish, and obviously you would be very happy about that if that was on a exterior panel like a wing, but even so that can be recovered. There's a couple of ways we can do it. We can either just try with the polisher and use quite heavy grade and see if we can get that as a lot better, or we can go the whole hog and just do a wet sand with really fine paper, something like 2000 grit and then to 3000, and then with the compound to bring that back. I don't really want to go to that extent with doing a full wet sand on it, because ultimately it's just under a bonnet. So I'm going to try and polish it first with compound and see how we go from there. These are the blends into the wing, and you can see there, that's the gloss, and then goes into that existing paint there. So the aim of this is to try and get that as invisible into the wing existing paint. The existing paint's quite scuffed and worn, unsurprisingly, because it's like 30 years old, but so we're going to have to try and polish that as best we can to get that to match, and similarly on this side you can see the transition there between the new paint and the existing paint there. So it's never going to be 100% perfect. I'd be quite happy if it's sort of just shine, just barely visible. Really would be an absolute result. So I'm not expecting it to be perfect, but so we'll see where we go from there. So I think first step is I'll just give it a good wipe down to get rid of some of the grit and everything that's all in that panel up there. We don't want that getting under the polishing pads. So let's give this a good clean, get this ready for polishing, and let's go from there. Job I think will be this, my little air powered polisher stroke sander. These are really power hungry on the compressor, so you'll hear well, you probably won't hear it because it's out in the back garden, but the compressor keeps cutting in and out on these. It takes ages to restore they're just so power hungry on air. I'm going to be using super heavy cut compound from Menzerna to start with, see how we get on with that. That's really good for this sort of thing where you just want to get fresh paintwork cut, basically. The first stage, quite a coarse compound. Let's see how we get on with that. That's the compressor fighting hard to restore the air. Let's have a look. That was the first pass with the polisher. Okay. Yeah, that's something I thought was going to happen. The right at the edge of the paint, where I masked it once, then sprayed the primer, then the base coat, and then the clear coat. As you polish, it will start to erode both the top layer, the clear coat, but also the colour coat, base coat, and you can see the primer poking through. That would be a complete disaster if that was on an outside panel. But in this case, it's not a problem at all, because what I'm going to do here is, anyway, I'm going to restore that black perimeter line that runs around the engine bay and just basically bring that forward a little bit and paint that back in, so that's not a problem at all. Regarding the general finish, it's not doing the job. The polish isn't taking out these divots, and that's going to bug me, so I need to sort that out. It looks like some sort of dust or something has got into the paint, and it feels quite notchy to the touch, so basically polishing isn't going to get that out, I don't think. So I think we're going to have to go full wet sand on this. It won't take long. It's quite a small area, so we'll do that next. Let's abandon the polishing, compounding for now. Let's wet sand it. So we'll start with, I think, probably 2000 should do it. 2000, 2.5, and then 3000, and then we'll go back to the Menzerner super heavy cut and see where we go from there. And that should hopefully give us a much better finish. Sanded through all the way through to 3000. So we started with 2000, 2,500, 3000, and you can see that's looking 100% better already. The divots have now gone, so all that contamination's been sanded out, that dust or whatever it was, those nodules. The blend areas are looking pretty good, to be honest. Can't even see where that blended actually on that side. Okay, so the paint is now flatted, so it's gone matte, where I've wet sanded it through to 3000. Now it's just a case of using the compound to bring that shine back, so let's have a crack at that. Well, that hasn't worked at all. I'm not sure what's happened there, but I think it's a possibility that this just isn't spinning. Just not getting enough speed out of that. Yeah, that's pretty odd. it could. Another possibility is that pad is just way too soft for this compounding. Just to check my sanity, I'm going to go back to the electric polisher, even though it's way too big, and see what job that does. Okay, there's my first pass, and you can see that's certainly done the job. Quite a lot more polishing required there, though. You can see the still see the sanding marks in there, but that proves it's not the compound or the method. It's the it's this isn't man enough for it. Pad's too soft. That compounding pad, that's a Minzerner compounding pad on the electric machine there. On the rotary is much harder than that this squishy pad on this on here, and I think with the pressure of this on the panel as well, it's just stopping. It just hasn't got the torque to drive it, which is surprising because it's supposed to be a benefit of the air tool, is that it is supposed to have that torque. So I'm puzzled, but let's have a think and how we can get around this. Right, the air tool has been abandoned. Where is it? I can't find it. I've thrown it away in disgust. There it is. This thing is utterly useless for polishing. So what I've done is gone old school. Gone back to my old drill, Black & Decker drill that I've had since age about 16, I think. This is about 40 years old. And I've just basically taken the polishing pad and stuck it on here, and it works fine. It's going to be very slow progress though, so that's where I've got to so far, and unfortunately I've managed to burn just before I did that and swapped it over. I tried with the large pad and it was just too big a diameter, and it bit into the paint and it's slightly damaged that, so I'm gonna have to try and repair that as well. But you get the idea. This panel's actually looking really good now, so it's just a case of a lot of elbow grease and work with the drill. Starting to work up there, but you can see it's a little bit patchy at the moment, but you can see how it's all going to eventually come out. Interestingly, those blends have already disappeared on that wing. That's not polished in yet, but I can't actually see where I sprayed up to, which is really good. So hopefully once that's polished, it will look good. So I'll put the camera down now and get on with it, and see where we get to. Okay, we're all done. That took a while. Here's the result. So all polished. Here's the blend into the right hand wing. Just about still visible. You can see where it came up to, but you'd have to really struggle to spot it. Let's try the left. And again, so I can't really see where I ended there. The scratches that you're seeing up towards the brake fluid cylinder were there in the original paint anyway, so I didn't spray as far as that. So it's not perfect. There's a few nicks. So I managed to burn through on the polishing just in that area there. I've just put a little bit of lacquer on top, and once that's cured off, I should be able to get that flat again, and that should come out all right. There are some scratches in the base coat on that panel. I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. You're not going to see that really when the bonnet's on there and up. So, but overall, it's blended really well into the existing paint. It doesn't look like it's been sprayed. It just looks like the original finish. So, really pleased with that overall. Let's say that right hand wing is going to stay and just be polished up. Interestingly, the paint match is absolutely perfect from here to the wing. I guess unsurprising because the paint came from the same company, so it's the same mix effectively, even though it's two different batches. But again, that's good. And then once the weather gets better, we'll start looking at getting that wing sorted, repair that damage, and then respray that. But that'll be an outside job for that one because I need the space to get around it. But there we go. So let's get the pipes back on. There we go. I just remembered I haven't got enough clips. So that pipe's not connected, but as soon as those arrive, we'll get that finished. But that gives you an idea anyway. So the intercooler pipework's back in. And there's the finished product on the slam panel. So I just restored that edge with some black paint, masked off. And that looks a bit better now. And also just painted those front struts black as well. One of the things I've got to do next is sort out a new grille. Hopefully that'll be a subject for another video, because it's all a bit open and gaping at the moment. But I've tried a couple of times to make grills out of this sort of material. The sort of, I don't know what you call that really. It's the like chicken wire type stuff, black painted aluminium, typical grill, but it's just not lasting and goes completely out of shape. So looking for new ideas on that really. So that's something I'm going to be thinking about, is some sort of custom grill for the front of the TVR Chimaera. But there you go, that's what it looks like at the moment. So as ever, thanks again for watching, keeping me company, doing all this stuff, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.